Does every operator know this process and follow this procedure?
Closed questions are used to direct the conversation and keep the auditee on track. They help clarify and check facts and generate short answers, usually yes or no.
And now I'd just like to ask you a few questions about your training. When was the last time you were trained in static discharge control? Sorry to interrupt, Frank, but what I really want to know is who updates the quality manuals. Now, Michael, I'd like to go back to training. Can you describe for me the procedure you have in place for training?
Open questions are used to get the auditee talking. They provide a lot of information on which to build more specific questions. They start with words such as explain to me, describe, or show me.
To help me understand it, could you show me what you do and I'll follow it in the manual? And can you explain to me what you use this for? How do you know that they do?
Probing questions are used to uncover core issues and are useful for obtaining more detail. Probing questions can sound like an interrogation, so they should be used in combination with open questions.
Okay, I'd like to get back to training later, but what I'm really asking is how do you know that this procedure is being followed by everyone all of the time? Yes, good, but does this have broader implications for the quality control of the machines over the last 6 months? I was told that this densitometer test had been in place for about 4 months. Are you saying that you would have expected the update to have been done?
Challenging questions are used when the auditee's answers contradict previous answers or observations. Care must be taken to make sure you do not appear argumentative or aggressive.
Michael, are you saying that you rely on customer complaints to check procedures?
They are useful if you feel that the auditee is missing the point, generalising, or exaggerating.
Yes, but I do note that there was a similar finding in the last audit. Are you saying that you're not too concerned with the performance of the system you have in place for updates? So let me see if I've got this right. Every machine is tested using this checklist, and the production manager will only allow a machine to be passed on to distribution after the receipt of this checklist.
Reflecting questions are used to test your understanding of what the auditee has said. You express what they have told you in your own words to confirm that you have understood it correctly.
So after the general induction, they come to your section, have a short induction on the remanufacturing process, and then they're on their own? So at your monthly production managers meeting, you review any proposed changes to the documented procedures. If they are given approval, then the changes are given to...
Summarising is used to concisely list or tie together the main points covered in a session. Like reflecting, summarising is a powerful way to show you have been listening.
However, there is no check that all of the changes have been included, and there is no regular review of the manuals to see if the updates have been done.
All of these question techniques can be used to uncover the facts or issues that your audit addresses. The auditee's attitude and communication skills affect your choice of questions. In the following scenes, we're going to replay the questions you have already been shown in isolation. Look at them again and ask yourself, why is the auditor using this type of question at this point in the audit? What response does the question uncover? As you watch it, note how the auditor encourages the auditee and builds on the good start she established.
Michael, could you show me the procedure for testing completed machine?
Yes. Here it is.
Does every operator know this process and follow this procedure?
Yes, they do.
How do you know that they do?
Well, it's the way they're trained.
Okay, I'd like to get back to training later, but what I'm really asking is how do you know that this procedure is being followed by everyone all of the time?
Well, we'd soon know from the service calls and customer complaints.
Michael, are you saying that you rely on customer complaints to check procedures?
No, of course not. We have a checklist procedure. The operator tests every machine, completes the job cards, the checklists, diagnostic printouts. The checklists are returned to the production manager, who ensures the procedure has been followed.
Could you show me the checklists used in the testing procedure from the last month?
Sure.
So let me see if I've got this right. Every machine is tested using this checklist, and the production manager will only allow a machine to be passed on to distribution after the receipt of this checklist.
That's right. And because the production manager cites all the checklists, he would know if the procedure was not being followed.
I see. Now, Michael, I'd like to go back to training. Can you describe for me the procedure you have in place for training?
Well, as you know, each new employee goes through an induction course. They learn about their conditions, pay, OH&S, and quality improvement. They also do an induction course over here. We show them a video on the remanufacturing process. We show them their job, give them the manuals, and so on. Part of this involves explaining the quality test procedure.
So after the general induction, they come to your section, have a short induction on the remanufacturing process, and then they're on their own?
No, not quite. After the basic induction, they work with a section team leader for the first few shifts.
How do you know that they understand the testing procedure at the end of the program?
They sign off on their training records.
Could I see those records?
Sure. Frank,
Yes?
I've got Leslie here and we're talking about the training for the testing procedure. Could you bring me up the training reports for this area?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks. I'll need them for the next part of my audit. What I'd like to do now is go down to the production line, have a talk to some of the staff, and follow up on what we've discussed.
No problem with that. Frank will be here soon and he can take you there. And the staff know we're being audited, so they'll be expecting you. Anything else I can do to help?
Not for the minute. If I could catch up with you at about 3:30.
No problem. I'm here all afternoon. Here's Frank.
Good.
In this audit, the auditor has to talk to 3 different auditees. Leslie's approach changes with each auditee. Notice that she takes notes throughout the audit. She writes down all observations, both good points and issues that she'll need to raise later. These notes will be invaluable to her when she's doing her summary.
Maxine? Yep. This is Leslie. She's doing an audit on us, so you'd better look lively.
Whoa.
Hello, Maxine.
There you go.
I actually met you on the last audit.
Last time?
Yeah, March, I think.
Look, I'll leave you there.
Thanks, Frank.
Oh, yeah.
Maxine, today I'm auditing the testing procedure. Don't worry, it's not a job assessment. I'm checking that the procedure in these manuals matches what you do when you test a machine.
Okay, sure.
Here, Leslie wants to make Maxine relax, as well as understand the procedure. So she begins with an open question. Once she's got the broad picture, Leslie uses closed questions to check the details. Leslie's careful not to use leading questions, as auditees can avoid really answering the question.
To help me understand it, could you show me what you do and I'll follow it in the manual?
Sure.
Could you show me the specification setting function and the alignment check?
No worries. Okay. Every day I get 1, maybe 2 machines. First I have to clear the memory and put some new settings into the machine memory. Settings for automatic tray switching, preset reproduction, copy number. The final part of the alignment check is to check for any background on the back page of a copy. After I do the alignment check, I do some test copies from all of these trays, just to make sure the machine's working properly.
Which trays are tested in the test matrix?
Oh, all of them. I mean, these 4, the double-sided, and then the manual fed trays.
And how long does a test take to do?
Oh, generally about 2 hours. Sometimes a little bit shorter and sometimes a little bit longer.
Maxine, that was great. I noticed that when you checked the copy quality, you did so by using a densitometer. The procedure manual says to use a test pattern. Do you always use a densitometer?
Yeah, we started using that test ages ago because it's a better way to do the test.
Okay, I'll just make a note of that.
Is that a problem?
Well, the procedure should be correct in the manual. but I can check that out with Frank later. And can you explain to me what you use this for?
I test for any electrical faults in the final test run.
Could I get the calibration records for this meter?
Sure, Frank's got them.
And now I'd just like to ask you a few questions about your training. When was the last time you were trained in static discharge control?
About 2 months ago.
Was Maxine helpful?
Yes, thank you, Frank. She was very thorough. Is this a good time to ask you a few questions?
Sure, fire away.
Well, I've just been through the final testing procedure for the Vivace with Maxine.
She's good, isn't she?
Yes. I'd just like to follow up a few points. Can I just start with...
Frank is the type of person who often misses the point of the question and waffles on. Leslie has to keep him focused on the issues she wants to raise or discuss. To do this, she uses closed questions to prompt short answers and challenging questions to bring him back to the issue.
Yeah, oh, I can tell you all about that. It's a whole new ball game today. In the old days, it was very straightforward. Now, with digital...
Sorry to interrupt, Frank, but what I really want to know is who updates the quality manuals?
Well, let me think. In the past, we just had one person checking. Then, a few months ago, we decided to take a look at the whole problem. There were specific reasons, of course. If the person we relied on got sick, or if they were working in another section, or whatever the reason, the changes didn't happen. So, the section supervisor at the time, Jim Stewart, had a look. You met Jim, haven't you? He had a look. He decided
Frank,
that...
I think we may be getting a bit off track here, Frank. I'd like to concentrate on what happens now. So who handles the updates?
Tom, the technical specialist, is always involved, and the production manager for the area. Is something wrong?
Well, I have found a variation between the actual test procedure used and the documentation. To confirm it, I need to check some of the details of the quality test.
Fire away.
Tell me if I understand it correctly. When Maxine or one of the other operators checks the copy quality of the machine, they use a densitometer?
Of course. We've been using a densitometer since June. You see, the thing about the densitometer is that with the new components...
Thanks, Frank, but before we go into that, what I'm saying is the densitometer isn't in the procedure manual.
Is the manual wrong?
Well, in the manual it stipulates the use of a test pattern. Can you see the discrepancy?
Yeah, see. That's very strange. You know, keeping the manuals up to date's a top priority. It's very unusual for this to happen. It normally happens very smoothly.
So when and how do these updates happen?
It's very well worked out. Normally happens like clockwork. Pretty organised around here. A matter of fact...
I was told that this densitometer test had been in place for about 4 months. Are you saying that you would have expected the update to have been done?
Yeah, I would. Definitely.
Well, how about we go through the procedures for updates?
Good idea.
Leslie continued her audit and confirmed there were some non-conformances. Leslie now returns to Michael to conclude the audit. She has to present the findings to Michael in a constructive manner, which encourages him to respond positively. In addition, she uses challenging and probing questions to examine the relative significance of her findings.
Well, Michael, that went well. The staff were very cooperative and I found only 2 issues.
What were they?
The first relates to updating procedure manuals.
Updating procedure manuals.
Yes, I understand from what I've been told that you have an established system in place for updating manuals, but from my observations there are a few minor problems. I discovered this when I asked one of the operators to run through the testing procedure, and she used a densitometer instead of a test pattern as listed in the written procedure.
I have a copy here. I don't understand how this could have happened.
I went through it with Frank and Tom, and the process for introducing improvements is very well documented and controlled. And element 4.9 process control is fully met, so the non-conformance with regards to the manuals is minor.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yes, but I do note that there was a similar finding in the last audit. Are you saying that you're not too concerned with the performance of the system you have in place for updates?
Well, I guess we need to look at it. We don't want it happening again. I'll get together with Frank and Tom later this week.
The second non-conformance was in the calibration of the electrical test meters. The test records for the calibration indicated that the meter had not been calibrated for 6 months.
And of course, it should be calibrated every 3 months. I'll have a look at it.
Yes, good. But does this have broader implications for the quality control of the machines over the last 6 months?
We rarely get an electrical fault in the final check because it's picked up early in the rebuild. So in context, it's unlikely to affect quality. But obviously, we do need to look at it.
In this audit, the auditor had 3 different situations: a confident manager, an operator, and a talkative production manager. She adapted her question techniques and approach to each of them. Throughout the audit, she was positive and conveyed that the audit was a team process. Each auditor has their own style, and every industry its own requirements. However, people skills are important for every auditor. Developing people skills enables an auditor to get a positive response from the auditee and maximise the effectiveness of the audit.